Good afternoon, and welcome to the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences Makeup Artists and Hairstylists Symposium. My name is Kathryn Blondell. I am one of, thank you. I am one of 3 governors and the chairman of our branch this year. Lois Burwell is our vice chair, and Howard Berger is your 3rd governor. This year marks the 92nd Academy Awards. Today's event, titled Oscar Week, Makeup Artists and Hairstylists Symposium, can be viewed on the Academy website at oscars.org. So we welcome viewers from around the world as well as those attending today. The reason the Academy gives an Academy Award is to honor and celebrate the art and science of motion pictures. It's why the Academy exists. The Oscar exists because the founders believed that movies were not just a business, and people needed to be reminded of that. The Oscar exists to tell the world that filmmaking is an art, and it is being practiced by some people at a very high level. Some of those people are in this room today, and we would like to take the time to introduce some of our past winners. So would actually all of our past nominees and Oscar winners please stand up so we can give you some applause. We would also like to recognize Makeup Artists and Hairstylists Guild 706. And we also want to thank Randy Haberkamp and Alejandra Espasande and the members of the Academy staff that make this event possible. Please welcome Lois Burwell.
Afternoon, everyone. So our branch is well aware how our nominations are decided, but please bear with me while I inform our guests who may not know our procedures. In April and October, the Makeup Artists and Hairstylists Committee meet. As a part of the meeting, we discuss the list of films that are eligible during the year. This year, that numbered 344 films. From that list comes recommendations of films to be seen for makeup and hairstyling. The list of films that have been discussed gets posted on our Academy website, the aim being that our branch members have the opportunity to see these films while they are released on the big screen, reducing the number that need to be seen at the end of the year, possibly by streaming or DVD viewing. We encourage anyone from our branch who has seen a movie they feel should be considered to post that title on our discussion board to enable cinema viewing of that film. We also encourage artists who have a film that will be released at the end of the year to speak to their producers to arrange a screening so their film can be considered. In November, we call for an all-branch meeting to discuss the films. Then in December, another all-branch meeting is called for to vote for the 10 films that will move forward for consideration for nomination. Following the December meeting, the Makeup and Hairstyling Executive Committee meets. This meeting is to choose the maximum of 2 names, possibly 3, of those most responsible for the look of the film or characters. This decision of whose name is on the ticket is based upon the input and work that was done. Then in January, all members are asked to attend a presentation by the Makeup and Hairstylist branch to see clips and hear from the honorees of those 10 films. This is known as the bake-off. There are no baked goods. Which is streamed live, so branch members who are either on location or overseas can participate and vote. Academy makeup artists and hairstylist members spend a great deal of time in an effort to applaud the work of others. To that end, we also have to thank our staff members at the Academy, Tom Oyer and Michael Benedict, for their tireless support and effort to get the work done. Round of applause, excellent. So thank you. And now please welcome Howard Berger.
Hey, then my fan club, yes. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming. So, there are two stories that we felt we wanted to share with you today. And the first has been told before, but we feel it's an important one. So, in 1968, prior to being a yearly Oscar for makeup, Planet of the Apes was going to receive a special Academy Award. That award, as was the process at the time, would have gone to the makeup department head of 20th Century Fox, which was the great Dan Strepek. Dan stated that the person most responsible for this achievement is John Chambers, and he must receive that Oscar. Dan was a great guy. Anybody knew him. He was the best. So it is that standard of honesty and responsibility that we follow today as the committee painstakingly chooses the individuals most responsible for what has been recognized in each film. Our second story is about Leonard Engelmann. Leonard has been an Academy member since 1986. When we were members at large, Leonard chaired several of our meetings and championed our becoming the makeup artist branch in 2006. In 2007, Leonard moderated the first Symposium as an Academy program to honor, support, and celebrate our makeup artists. We have since become the makeup artist and hairstylist branch. He has served as a governor for 12 years, and he worked very hard to ensure that we continue to stand for the very best achievement in makeup and hairstyling. Please join with me to thank Leonard for all his contributions.
Today is a celebration of winners. We are here to honor and celebrate some incredible work in the art of makeup and hairstyling. Every nominee that steps up on this stage is a winner. Only one film will carry away the statue, but every nominee has proven their work to be exceptional by the fact they're here today. At this time, I'd like to ask all of our nominees to please stand, and will the audience please give them a round of applause. In today's program, I will announce the film, what it is up for, and you will see a 7-minute clip to remind you of the work. After the clip, I will invite the nominees to the stage where, while they are being interviewed by Lois and Howard, there will be images behind them that they will be able to refer to during their conversation. After their conversation, we will allow some time for the audience to ask questions. Please raise your hand, and a microphone will be brought to you so that everyone, including those who will be streaming this, can hear your question. Please limit your question to one at a time, and if you have a second, allow others to ask their question first. Also, please keep the questions pertaining to today's films and these artists' careers. Let's get started. Bombshell. Makeup, hairstyling, and prosthetics. Please show the clip.
And everyone in this building, even Roger, answers to 8. The 8th floor is home to CEO Rupert Murdoch and his sons. This is the power behind the power.
Look, our news shows and our opinion shows are very different. Our news is impartial. It's top of the line. Our opinion shows, Roger gave a voice to people who didn't have one, and he balanced the American conversation.
I could pluck you out and move you all the way to the front of the line. But I want something in return. You know what that is, Kayla? Loyalty. I need to know that you're loyal. I need you to find a way to prove it. You think about that, all right?
They have a contractual right to monitor our communications. A hotline in this building is like a complaint box in occupied Paris. It's like we're telling women, go on, speak up for yourself. Just know the entire network is with Roger. No one will believe you. They'll call you a liar. Oh, and as for your career, you want assignments and airtime? Go ahead. Call the paranoid man who decides your salary a pervert, and do that on a fucking anonymous hotline he controls. On a phone, he has a contractual right to record. Jesus fucking Christ. Do you think women are idiots? It's like somebody stripped you naked and they want you to walk through this office just to fucking prove it.
Okay. Can I see you for a minute?
Former anchor Gretchen Carlson filing a sexual harassment lawsuit against Fox News chief Roger Ailes. More women are coming forward. Ailes is denying the allegations and getting some high-profile support.
Accusations against Roger Ailes.
I have never run a goddamn Dairy Queen. You don't get to go and get whatever you want. Everybody on my shows knows the meaning of decency, and I do mean everybody.
I jumped off a cliff. I thought one of them would stand with me. Hey, Mom. Hey, we're home. Hey, honey. There's a snack in the kitchen.
Okay, thanks.
We're gonna get him.
At Fox News has issued some allegations, some sexual harassment allegations that you're over your boss, Roger Ailes. What is your position on this? What did you think when you heard this?
In this country, every famous, powerful, or wealthy person is a target. You're a target, I'm a target. Anytime somebody could come out and sue us, attack us, go to the press, or anything like that. And that's a deplorable situation. I've worked for Roger Ailes for 20 years. Best boss I've ever had.
You know, I always find it so interesting who history chooses to do something important.
I guess.
Listen, I wanted to ask you if Roger is harassing you.
How did you know?
We find each other.
You too?
Long time ago.
Wow.
You okay?
Mm-hmm. Did you give my name to Megan by any chance?
I may have worried about you out loud once or twice.
Why didn't you just support me?
Roger can sense vulnerabilities. In those days, our meetings were career strategy sessions mixed with good advice and comments like,
The most basic thing is confidence. Feel at home in your own skin. If you're confident, you're sexy. I'm sure you have some sexy bras. I'd love to see you in those.
it was a cat and mouse game. But he always gave me good advice and let me deflect. Tell him to dream on. The more I let him get away with, the more he pushed my buttons.
Oh, I don't know if women can be good interviewers. Men have that killer instinct. And we do bad things, and we do not feel guilty about it. How can I be sure you have that kind of drive? I guess that means I pay for the food that one of you puts in your mouth. What if it's you?
I'd have fired you for cause.
Roger.
You built an amazing business. No one can take that away from you. But under the circumstances, this is a lot of money. It won't look good to the people that don't know your worth. Take it. Honor your non-compete.
You will be muzzled, Gretchen.
Maybe.
Please welcome Kazuhiro, Ann Morgan, and Vivian Baker.
Hello. We're being watered now. There we are. So congratulations. How fabulous. Great work.
Thank you very much.
Well done.
Great honor.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So to get going, first question is going to go to Vivian and Morgan. So we'd like to begin with the women presenters of Fox, which is a definitive look. And Charlize thereon as Megyn Kelly. This is a transformation at its foundation and then the Fox look applied on top. Can you share with us the details of your work and the amalgam of makeup and prosthetics and hairstyles to create this look?
You want to go first? This is for the Megyn Kelly character. Well, I mean, Kazu did these amazing prosthetics, which gave the bones for us to create Megyn Kelly. You know, the biggest thing was to put the tremendous amount of makeup on top of those prosthetics that would be required to give the flawless look that was very much part of Fox, and also just, you know, how she would go to work. So I have to say the level of the prosthetics was paramount, and me putting the makeup on top of them, which was something that I had to create a way to do. So it was all, I blended the makeups. I would put a lot on by hand, and when it got to the prosthetics, there was a sealer that I would use that Kazu would build, but there was also an airbrush, and I would build a different base with a lot of different stuff in it. So as it walked over in a very, you know, fine droplet way through the airbrush, that it would diffuse it, not grab onto the edges and stuff like that. What I think was kind of interesting when, you know, seeing this reminded me, you know, Kazu created this heavy eyelid that was very Megyn Kelly. And someone like Megyn Kelly would do everything she could to push that eyelid back in her own makeup. But that was not anything that we could really do. We found that as we began to put the eye makeup on, and to do that, I needed to leave it to show itself. The rest of the makeup on her, the liner and those lashes, were quite important into shaping her. The way that the lids would go on, sometimes they would, you know, her eyes would be puffy, it would all be different. So every day it was different. It was not, I could not follow her line. I could not follow the shape of her eye. It was very artificially done and curated. And then on those close-ups, fortunately, you couldn't tell how much we had really gone outside of her shape.
That's great. Morgan?
Yeah. I think in creating Megan, her particular looks are documented and probably the most well-known of our characters. And so it was important to kind of hit those marks, to keep a timeline. Oh, is this the photos behind me? Oh, hey, I get a view too. When we started, the short hair look that's showing right now is something that was quite striking for a character, or rather a woman at Fox to do, to cut her hair off. Roger liked hair. He liked this specific kind of blonde. He liked blondes. And so for her to cut her hair off, I thought that was really quite striking, because it was really ballsy, and I think she wanted to be taken more seriously, potentially, as a journalist. So it was, documented by the presidential debate, and so that was a time frame that we had to mark with. With Megyn Kelly, she was our guideline of time through the film, So
and the hair was helpful there, was we couldn't do it in the makeup.
Do what?
The hair was very helpful to document the timeline, because we couldn't do it with the makeup.
Yeah.
Okay,
Howard.
Kazu, your turn. Okay,
Yes.
you're up. You're up.
Okay.
All right. So, hey, Kazu, share with us the process of using a combination of established techniques mixed with digital technology techniques, such as lifecasting an actor, as well as cyber scanning, and what that gave you as far as creating the various prosthetics.
Yes. I kind of started to do a life cast, like a physical and a 3D scan at the same time.
Right.
And from this show, because I started to realize, we always struggle with weight of the impression material distort the face, and especially. Really, the key point was to change her eyelid shape, and so I needed an open eye life cast. But every time we try to do that, it's always off.
Right.
So I decided to use a 3D scan and print out, and that as a positive mode to sculpt the eyelid on. And also the nose plug. I needed to because it's when I was started thinking, because it's so her nostril is so delicate and like a small. And if I put the like a tube in it, it will distort too much. Right. So I had to figure out and the design at the same time, and so I decided to take an impression inside of her nose. And on the negative shape, I cut in half and scanned both sides and put in a digital ZBrush application and design those nose plug, because we only had like 6 weeks to prepare all makeups, and I knew I had to change it right away. And after everything decided, I had to print out enough to go through the whole filming. So it was good because I could print 40 sets at the same time. And it only took like 1 day to print whole shooting nose plug. Yeah. So yeah.
Wow.
Wow, amazing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's move on to Roger Ailes, played by John Lithgow. So here we have there we are. So here on the left of the screen is the life cast of John Lithgow, and on the right, the change the appliances make. Can you talk us through them, touching upon the design process, please?
Yes. So I had a meeting with Jay Roach, and we were talking about how much of the likeness he wanted, and also John was really skeptical about using a prosthetic, because he told me that he had a bad experience in the past. But Jay really wanted to change his look, and it was an important part to make John look like a Jay Roach. And so Jay told me it should be a hybrid, not like exactly look like a Roger, but he wants to put the essence in it. So I took characteristic of a Roger, and the big nose and the kind of bulldogish cheek and the big neck. And also producer told me, you cannot spend like 4 hours on set, to apply the makeup. They always ask for that. Yeah. So I designed it so it can be applied under the 3 hours. Yeah, and so it was really important because like we didn't have time, and it has to be applied really quick and also very effective. And but the good thing was the first test makeup we did, as soon as the nose went on, and John started to realize, okay, there is a potential. It's really working, and so he was so excited about every piece goes on, and he was looking at it and moving around. So. John is such an amazing actor and great to work with. He's such a sweet person. Yeah, everybody was so great actors in this film. So we really enjoyed the process.
Excellent.
So here's another question. So you had over more than 90 characters in the film, and half of them are lookalikes. Will you speak a little bit about the work of some of the characters in the film and the makeup, prosthetics, and hair work that you guys did? There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, there's quite a bit. And, probably one of the most daunting things is the few prosthetic characters that we had to do. Kaze wasn't doing that, so I had to meet his quality. You can only imagine how terrifying that would be. But there were 3 with prosthetics, and then we had the others which had a lot of little things. But the 3 would be Tony Plana playing Geraldo Rivera, and then there would be Rupert Murdoch, being played by, oh my goodness, give me a name, forgot already, because I know, Malcolm McDowell, sorry, and Richard Kind playing Rudy Giuliani. And I don't know if we have a photo of him out there, but the Rudy Giuliani one was a big 4-piece prosthetic to cover up his hair. It was quite fun to do it. I thought it looked quite good in the rest of them. So I thought it was a great transformation. Vincent van Dyke built the pieces and sculpted, and Richard Revleson did some of that, and Bart Mixon, we had some really good team putting those on, which was great. The rest of the makeups, we incorporated everything from mustaches, we did lots of lifts, a lot of hand-laid hair, there were teeth, there were contact lenses, and then there was just a lot of really heavy forced beauty makeup.
Right.
Really forcing the beauty makeup, it's like, it was quite fun to do it, but forcing issues on women that, we don't always do.
And Anne, how about you as far as, did you just have a huge stash of wigs and ready to rock at any moment?
Right. That's what I had. Yeah. No,
a full trailer full of wigs to use, right?
So many staff, so many people, so many wigs. No, I think that, I think what it was is we would take an actor when they would arrive and kind of see what affectation we could use of their own, and in the likenesses. I think maybe more in the subject matter of the Fox material and the Fox look, and curating that, using the character of Kayla, played by Margot Robbie, as a kind of our prototype for a woman that would arrive at Fox, and maybe the journey of her transformation. So we used her as that gauge, and then we had the bevy of women that did work at Fox that we were playing, replicating again, whether it's Kimberly Guilfoyle or plethora of women. So those we would have to be more specific to their look, and it's that thing of more hair, more fake in the color, very forced blondes, and it was just it was really like a Barbie kind of end result, and oddly enough, what you think is that we can become quite used to being a normal look, but really we were so many wefts and not blended, not too blend, and you can see in the beginning with Megyn Kelly, even you can see that her wefts aren't moving, but they're not supposed to move. It's supposed to be for camera and just be looking good for the camera's view. So that is very specific and on purpose. So
great, thank you, Morgan. Now we've got time for some questions from our lovely audience here. Just put your hand up and wait for a mic to come to you. I can't see a thing because the lights are blinding me. So.
Her mic's not on. Tammy's mic's not on.
Thank you. My question is for Vivian. It was just mentioned that 93 actors tell me about your team. Like, how many did you have, and like, what did they have to do? Like, that's amazing to me that there were 93 actors that you and your team had to take care of.
I know it was a lot, and it wasn't as big of a team as I thought that I would have. Christina Waltz was my key. She's here today. She's beautiful. And Richard Revleson was a major part of my team. I shared him with Kazu. So he would be on prosthetics on Roger Ailes every day, every day that Roger worked. And when he wasn't, he was with me doing all this stuff. So I was very fortunate to have them. And then Tara Lang Shaw, who was also on my team. That was the main team. I had an assistant in there to just help us make sure that everything was there, Megan Longmire. And then the background was run by Randy Mavistron and Claire Doyle, and I didn't have to think about them because we had plenty on the 93. But as everyone would come in, it was literally like, okay, this is what we have to do. We had tons of research. We knew where we wanted to go, and we tested everyone until we got it right. And we just did whatever we had to do. Did I answer your question?
That was a good answer.
Congratulations, what a wonderful work. My name is Jose Hermosillo from Festival in LA. My question to you is, how much you have to research your characters? Because you cannot fake something that we have so much freshness in the viewers, because we see those characters in TV every single day. And we have very fresh memories of these characters. So you cannot fake to us how they're gonna look like in the actors in the real movie. So about your researching work.
Who wants to take that? Kazu?
Oh, okay. The research. Well, basically, after we read a script, we just, the great thing about now we have internet, and just gather up the images as much as possible, and also watching YouTube. It's a great age, because we used to have to ride on a. When I was a kid, I have to ride the bicycle to go to the old library to gather up the images. But now you can sit in a chair and look for. But the thing is, like a sculpture. I usually collect like a picture of each person in a straight on and 3/4 in profile, and because I don't want to mix too much, because it's very important to have the photograph taken at the same time in a different angle, and that's a way to study form. And you can talk about the makeup-wise.
Yeah, our books were massive. I had a digital, collection of photos that we've printed some, because it would have been way too much to print them all. And then the rest was digital, which was shared with my team, so that at any point we could just pull it up and take a look at it. And as you create the character, each one, everyone, you just have to find the piece that embodies them. You look at all the images, you can find out bits and pieces, but the big thing is what really sells it? What really sells who they are? What did you need to change on them? But it was just massive amounts of photos, but they have that. The good news is that these are all news people. They're quite well known, so it wasn't as difficult as trying to find something, when there was no cameras around.
Also, I think that in replicating, there is something to be said. Like, you might think it's exact, and it seems that way, but the actors bring that to it as well. They bring on the affectations of the movement and the speech, or whatever intonation they need to bring to it, body language or whatever. So you are just trying to create, an affectation of it, of the character. Yeah.
I think we might have time for one more question. Should there be one out there? I can't actually indicate because the lights really do.
First of all, congratulations to the team for just amazing job. My question is for Vivian. So this is your first nomination. You're a veteran makeup artist. You've been doing this a very long time. And since the nomination, I just wanted to hear how how this has affected you personally to have to be able to deal with this Cinderella moment in your life.
Yeah, who is that? I got to help. Who is that?
That's Michael Key.
You know, I mean, I'll be really honest with you. When I got called to do this job and to work with Kazu, I think that was probably one of the highest marks. I think to work this film with Morgan and with Kazu and to go all the way through and to create this stuff, I mean, this kind of feels very unreal. A bit of the icing on the cake. But I think at the moment it was, I mean, I know his bar, we all do. I know how high it is. And just to have stayed to the end of the film, that was probably one of the biggest things, you know, to make you happy. I think for me, that's a big thing. The rest of it, maybe I'll feel it later. Ask me in a month.
Well, we've run out of time, but congratulations.
Thank you.
Really sincerely meant.
Our second film is Joker, Makeup and Hairstyling. Please show the clip.
What is this welcome? Put them in a room, let them sit there and talk till they get it over with. 24 hours, 48 hours, how long it takes. The idea of the National Guard moving in and cleaning up is a good idea.
In other news, the building industry and landlords today expressed concern over the latest increase in heating oil prices. Renters in the metro area are certain to feel the pinch.
Come on, it's got to squeak. You can't do nothing. Hurt!
Eat. You need to eat.
You need to eat. Look how skinny you are.
What's up, ladies?
Hey.
Thomas Wayne is a good man.
If you're happy and you know it, and you really want to show it, if you're happy and you know it, stomp your feet.
Listen, I'll tell you what you have, asshole. You got a kicker, huh? Steady, hold on, steady. Stay down, freak.
That's life.
That's life.
That's what all the people say. You're riding high and ape, stomping on a dream. But I don't let it get me down. 'Cause this fine old world.
Hoyt said that they talked to you, and now they're looking for me. And I just want to know what you said. Make sure our stories line up, seeing as how you're my boy.
Yeah.
How about another joke, Murray?
No, I think we've had enough of your jokes.
What do you get?
I don't think so.
When you cross
I think
a
we're
mentally
done
ill
with the
loner
jokes.
with a
That's it.
society that abandons him and treats him like trash.
Call the police,
I'll
Gene.
tell you what you get.
Call the police.
You get what you fucking deserve.
Please welcome Nikki Lederman and Kay Giorgio.
Hello, welcome, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Super work, really
Thank you.
is. Thank you. Welcome. Right, so the first question. What research was done to create the final look of the Joker, and how did you achieve the look of Arthur Fleck?
Well, the final look was really a collaboration between the director and Joaquin, Kay and I, and costume design as well, as much as production design, because it was really important that all these elements come together so we can complement each other and really create a mood that is in sync with each other. And when we first started the job, the director gave us a mock-up photo of what he and Joaquin thought should be the look of the movie in terms of like the clown look, which then becomes a Joker look because it's all based on one design really. And then it was really for us to, work it out, to, get the placements right, get the colors right, alter it in a way that is also safe for copyright, because clown makeups are actually incredibly hard to recreate because they're copywritten. There's actually this wonderful book, The Clown Registry of Eggs. I think it is called. It's like little eggs that have the clown makeups painted on, and that's how they're all copywritten. And that's, we got this book, and we had to make sure that it's all clear that we didn't create something that's already been done before.
Wow.
Wow. So tell us, what was the most difficult part when executing the makeups and hair? As we've heard and we discussed, sometimes you had 20 minutes combined to get Joaquin ready, and sometimes on the cuff, like having to re-establish makeups after he washes his face and so on and so on. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, to begin with, when we were getting him ready, we would work together.
We're going to
would
be
double
nice
team.
today, okay?
We're on good behavior.
Yes, we won't say mean things today.
We would work together. I would be, when we were getting him ready for Joker, I would be putting the wig on, and while I was doing that, Nikki would be doing his makeup at the same time. So most days we got it down to around 15 to 20 minutes to, you know, the whole thing, to get him done and out of the chair. The look for Arthur was a lot quicker. It was really the Joker was the bigger challenge, wasn't it?
Yes, yes.
I mean, I had to get his hair dyed because Joaquin has grey hair. So I would dye his hair, but obviously I didn't need to do that every day. That was just a maintenance thing. And then just mess it up, put a load of product in it to get it looking as unkempt as I possibly could.
Yeah, and for Arthur, you know, it was really he lost so much weight, you know, that the gauntiness was almost there, and all I really had to do is, like, you know, just shade him a little more, knock the red out, so he looks also a little paler, and that was really fast. Actually, it was the clown makeup and the Joker makeup was the one that took longer, although we really couldn't spend much time because, you know, it was not very easy for Joaquin to sit still, so it was like constantly a moving target, and like, are you done, and like, let's get going, you know. And that's also the reason why we had to double team. That's why everything went so quickly. But yeah, that was pretty much the process.
Wow. So now, Kay, what's a wig and what is Joaquin's own hair? And can you please talk about broccoli green?
Yes. Okay, so Joaquin has grey hair, so for Arthur, that's his own hair. The picture we're seeing now is the wig. Once he turns from Arthur into Joker, it had to be a wig because of continuity. We were going backwards and forwards between Arthur and Joker. So the only way I could do that was to just wig him. You see in the movie that he actually dyes his hair on screen, so I had to make it as close to his own hair as I could get it. And the shade of green, this broccoli green, which is a story that I've told a few times, when we had the first meeting with Todd, it came about, the Joker has green hair, what shade of green? And Mark Bridges, the costume designer, said, well, it should be the shade of broccoli. So with that, there's this whole spectrum of broccoli green. There's, you know, there's the yellowy green, there's charred broccoli, there's faded broccoli, you know, when it's old. Steamed broccoli, absolutely. I mean, there's all sorts of
organic
broccoli.
Versus non-organic.
Yeah, and it looks different. You go to the supermarket and you go to the broccoli counter and you'll see there's a load of different
And
broccolis
you've been
up
to
there.
many, haven't
and
you?
I have. So I had a load of samples of different shades of broccoli green, and I took them to Todd, and I was like, well, what shade of green do you want? And he picked number 7, whatever shade of broccoli that was. And then, you know, I got the wig made. And then actually when we did the camera tests, because of course everything, as you all know, everything changes once it goes under the lighting, it wasn't quite green enough. So I had to go back and like have it pumped up. So that in itself was a little bit challenging because, again, once it goes under the lighting, once you see him dye his hair in the clip that you showed earlier, when he stabs the clown in the eye, that's all wearing a wig, but it doesn't really show as green just because of the lighting. That's my broccoli green story.
That's a good,
There you go,
good
good one.
story. Okay, let's talk about, there's a lot of other clown makeups, and there's a lot of cast, and then also all the blood splatter, which I really thought was great. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, the clown makeups was the same thing. We had a bunch of different clowns, and I had to come up with clown makeups that haven't been done before. So that was like playing a lot. Her husband, who's here, he let me paint on him a little bit and try to figure things out. And yeah, again, goes to the studio, they say yay or nay. And in fact, the clown that is sort of like the bearded clown, the hobo clown, I think I got like rejections 3 times until I finally got to a design that was approved. And the blood splatter was, again, everything had to happen really fast. And so the final blood splatter was me literally like running in and like pour blood on my hand and then just flick, 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 you know. And then once we were done, we took him to get him scanned so that we could then recreate some of the blood when we didn't get it in other takes to replicate it, but it was all from that original blood splatter, because again, time was of the essence and everything was very intense, and we didn't want to spend time to clean up and do it again just because of the whole, like, not sitting, being able to sit still and handling certain things. So that was the most easy and fast way to deal with it. And yeah, that's how we dealt with the blood splatter.
Very good.
Excellent. So, can you tell us about some of the products that you were using?
Yes, products. I had to use actually a bunch of different products in terms of water soluble versus waterproof. The scene, that beautiful scene in the bathroom when he does this beautiful dance, it actually we shot it for a lot longer. It actually goes to the point where he goes to the sink and washes off his face. And so we had to reset it like 15 times behind the stage on an Apple box with you holding the light, remember, because there was just no time.
Holding my iPhone.
Yeah, so I mean, to match it, because we had to match it to the scene where after he killed the subway kids, so we had to match that for continuity. But also I had to use products that were water soluble, so I can just like finish cleaning it off and put it right back on, and it had to come off on and off, on and off. So water soluble products had to be used, which were mainly MAC Chroma Cake, because they were the easiest to work with as a water soluble product. And then I had to use waterproof products. For example, when we were doing the subway scene where he's getting chased by the cops with a mask, that was actually the very first time we filmed him as the Joker. And I was mortified because I didn't know what's going to happen. Is he going to smear under the mask? Is he going to let me touch him up, because he would always run the other direction? And so I had to kind of use waterproof product to minimize the touching up and running after him. And in a way, it's kind of, it worked great that way, like as little dealing with it, the better. But also it felt in a way also more organic, because sometimes what happens, and that's reality. And this movie is about reality. It's not superheroes. It's needed to be authentic and real.
True. Great response. Thank you. Now we have some time for questions from our lovely audience. Just put your hand up. That's it.
Hello. Oh, good, that's loud. So we see Joaquin applying the makeup with a brush. So I'm curious for timing. Did you use a brush, or were you using sponges, or
I
or a
used
paint
exactly
roller?
what he used.
Okay.
I gave him whenever he did his own makeup, we used the tools that I would actually use when doing his makeup. So the brush that he used is what I used when I did his makeup. It's outside, you can actually look at it.
Another question?
There's one up there.
Film. On average, how many times do you have to put on the clown makeup?
A lot.
Do you mean in a day or over the whole?
Over the whole film.
A lot. I mean, well, when you watch the movie, it's like there's a lot of Arthur Fleck without the clown makeup. And so, I mean, out of the 60 days we shot, I would say we probably had him in some kind of a clown makeup at least half of the time, at least, I would say, right?
I think that's about right. It's a very good question. I don't actually know, but it's about half.
Yeah.
So.
Another question out there?
Hi. So when the director said make it broccoli colored, so did you just go to the grocery store and buy like 12 different heads of broccoli and bring them in and say, which one do you like?
Pretty much.
Good.
I didn't
That's what I would
actually
have done.
do that. I did go to the supermarket, I did go to the broccoli counter. I did look at all of the different shades. And I also went to the freezer section to look at what frozen broccoli would look like. And then I went away and got some hair, just like yak hair, which is white based. Yeah. I dipped them in a load of Dylon, which is a dye that you use for clothes, and got different shades of these broccoli greens, and they're what I put in front of the director.
Oh, so you actually used like swatches of hair.
I did. I used swatches of hair.
So when you had to green it up, did you use apples?
About 12. I'm so sorry, what?
When you had to green it up, did you use apples?
No. I actually just used, again, it was just the Dylon to bump it up.
No. Well, sadly, we're running out of time, although we could chat all day. But thank you. Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Our third picture is Judy, Makeup and Hairstyling. Please show the clip.
You're my favorite, Judy. Who else have we had in?
Shirley Temple this morning.
Everybody loves Shirley. Let's see how Judy measures up.
What are we doing first? Oh, the usual. Is that okay? Yeah. You look gorgeous, sweetheart.
So, I have your money.
Oh.
Crowd's gonna go crazy out there.
Oh.
So it's $150. I know it's not maybe what you're used to, but yeah.
No, I appreciate it.
All right.
I do.
Where's your star, Sid? You realize we're gonna have to sue you both, Sid.
Don't start.
Why are you even protecting her, Sid? What's going on?
Oh, shut up, Sid.
You can't turn up here at 1 o'clock in the morning expecting.
I know they should be in bed, okay? It just doesn't always work that way. And it gets late because nobody wants to pay to see me at 2 in the afternoon. And I have to work because they need things.
They need an education, Judy. They need 10 hours of sleep.
Oh, just to hell with this. Just call me a cat.
I want custody during the school year.
You have kids, Mickey?
No, I don't.
Well, you shouldn't. It's like living with your heart on the outside of your body.
No hamburger. Mr. Mayor said very specifically you are not to eat the food.
I'm honestly very hungry.
Those will take the edge off.
No, I gotta sleep tonight.
Okay. Right. Okay.
So that was Sid's lawyers on the phone.
Why?
He wants them Sunday through Friday during school time.
No.
He claims you're homeless.
How's he even paying for a lawyer? He's not making money off me anymore.
So where are you staying?
I love my children. I take care of them.
Welcome to the Picador.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello.
Welcome, Miss Gunn.
Oh, thank you.
Ah, there she is. The fabulous Miss Judy Garland.
Oh.
Wonderful.
Oh,
How are
wonderful.
you?
I'm good. Oh, I just adore London, my home away from home.
Marvelous. Come with me.
Thank you. Hello.
Hello, I'm Rosalind Wilder. I'll be looking after you while you're in London.
Wonderful. We can discuss the songs if you really want to.
Well, I have all your charts. Are there any changes you might like to make?
No, everything the same.
Is there anything to discuss then?
Sweetheart, that's up to you. I don't particularly need to discuss anything.
Judy, I'm afraid the critics will review opening night.
Sure. Of course.
It's tomorrow. It's right out here, Judy.
Okay, here we go, boys.
What's the matter?
Ladies and gentlemen.
I can't. What? No. What do you mean you can't? There's an audience out there waiting to hear you sing.
My mouth's dry and it could fall apart.
Listen to me.
Judy!
I can't.
You'll be fine. Now, on you go.
Hey,
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4
Judy, it's 12 o'clock.
And?
Well, and there's 1,000 people upstairs waiting to hear you sing.
So, bring them another drink. And have them bring me one, too.
I know it's not easy.
Oh, you do you?
I mean, the shows have been a huge success.
So what? Doesn't change anything. What difference does it make?
To the happy couple.
Cheers.
Cheers. Up here. Well, I'm back. Your choice. Over the rainbow. Bluebirds. I'm sorry.
Way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true.
I love you all. You won't forget me, will you? Promise you won't.
Unfortunately, Jeremy's not able to be here. He's on a film, but he did write a letter. So let me go ahead and read the letter. Hello, governors, fellow nominees, esteemed makeup artists and hairstylists, and guests. I am so sorry I cannot be with you this afternoon. I'm held up in traffic, literally. I am probably about 32,000 feet above Montana right now. I'm working on a movie back in London and unfortunately couldn't get away any earlier to join you at the Symposium. I am with you in spirit and hope you're having a wonderful time. Is everybody having a wonderful time? Yeah, good. A few words about Judy. It's rare the stars align, and we end up working on a film that is challenging work, but that is also great fun to work on. Judy was just such an experience. Having to turn one well-known face into another when the two had so little in common physically was a challenge that called on input from a great team. We needed a beautiful knotted wig from Natasha Laddick, transformative teeth and contact lenses from Fang Effects and Real Eye Company. The most subtle of prosthetics to change Renee's nose, not an easy place to hide a prosthetic, so thank you, animated extras. I was backed up by a fantastic team of makeup artists, Rob, Deborah, Renata, and Barbara, who showed a talent only matched by their dedication. We completed the shoot in less than 7 weeks, which meant that there was no luxury of spilling over to another day. Locations were only available for the days that were booked, so we had to get all the cast on set on time in under 90 minutes every single day. And the budget was so tiny, so running into overtime was not an option. In spite of the intense work, the film was a joy to work on, and that was largely down to our wonderful leading lady, the best makeup artist assistant out there. If anyone here has the chance to work with Renee Zellweger, stop at nothing, she is the best. Thank you, Jeremy. Obviously, since Jeremy's not here, we won't have a Q&A. Right, Jeremy? So, yeah. So, thank you.
Our next film is Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, Makeup, Hairstyling, and Prosthetics. Please show the clip.
Well, well. Presenting Queen Aurora of the Moors.
Mother.
One in the moors, and one left behind by her father, King Stefan. Was it not?
That castle was never my home. It was given to the people.
So, you're also a true princess, even though Stefan died, was killed. Remind me, did he die, or was he killed? Both.
Do you hear it?
Do you hear it? Huh? It's a message from the humans. I hear it loud and clear. Time for us to die.
Humans have used iron against us for centuries.
And we are almost extinct because of it.
Killing peasants on the moors will only lead to more conflict, Bora.
They've pulled the iron from the earth, made their swords and shields, drove us underground with this! This will finish us!
Our people are safe here for now.
And for how long? The humans will find us, they will not stop! I call for war!
We're Dark Fae. Same as you. We're all that remain. As more human kingdoms emerged, we went into hiding from every corner of the earth, doing what we had to survive. But many were lost. The tundra, the forest, the jungle. Now, our only refuge is here, in this cave, our nest of origin.
Listen, play in the wind.
Go!
Those children should be soaring over the trees and rivers. Instead, they're raised in exile.
I could protect them.
How? By waging war against the humans.
I've been at war with them my whole life.
Not all of them. There was one you raised as your own.
Your Majesty, she's absolutely lovely. Considering how she was raised by the same evil witch who cursed her.
It's a miracle Prince Philip came along.
It's a miracle the poor child is alive at all.
Thank you so much. It's exquisite. Such a
Excuse me, sir. Stop right there.
I'm with the bride.
We've been told to let the other kind find their seats first.
But I'm not a human. I'm a raven.
What?
A raven. The black bird.
Hold on! Why can't humans come in too?
Why can't we come in?
Get out! Before I call the guards.
What have you done? You're a pixie.
How dare you call me that? I'm Lickspittle the nobleman, and I serve the queen.
Our fight begins.
Now!
We will rise together! We fight together!
And we will show them no mercy!
Stand down! This is not my fight. My mother wanted a war, and you're giving it to her. I won't allow her hatred to ruin my kingdom or yours.
So proud of you. So proud.
Please welcome Paul Gooch, Arjun Tutin, and David White.
Hello. Well, welcome. Such smashing work. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Really excellent.
Brings back a lot of happy memories to see it.
Yeah, it does.
A long time ago.
That's great. Hold it like an ice cream. That's what does it. Yeah, there you go. Right, so Arian,
Yes.
we're going to start with you. Could you share with us the details of the prosthetic pieces and your process of applying the Maleficent makeup on Angelina Jolie?
Basically, what she's wearing is cheek prosthetics and nose prosthetic. She has teeth, she has ears when she's not wearing the head wrap, and she has the horns. The makeup took about 2.5 hours. Tony G, who I wish was here, did a beautiful beauty makeup, and Audrey did her hair, Audrey Stern. And so we would start with the hair wrap that would get tied into the horns. And so the bulk of the hair was gone. And as soon as that was done, I would start with the prosthetics, and then I would move on to the foundation. Tony would start with one of the eyes, and we would switch spaces, and we just had this whole routine going. There's a combination of foundations and obviously airbrushing, and yeah.
Thank you.
Very nice. Paul and David. This brings us to the other characters that we see you working on here. would you share the design and execution of the characters as well as the fae and the woodland, the fays of the woodland, jungle, and forest? And also I saw there was a really attractive fae that was in one shot.
Thank you, Howard.
Yeah, very handsome. Very handsome fae.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A spin-off script will be written.
Right, I figured that'll be the next one. It's about you.
Okay. I mean, we had it was an interesting thing because the production design gave us a real lead as to how these characters were going to work. I mean, the director was saying, well, so what do the other fae look like? What do they look like? And it really came down to their environment, which was the key to it, and the fact that we were going to use camouflage as the way of showing kind of how they can merge into those environments. So with jungle and with tundra and with desert, you notice that they basically are using the colors of those environments, and we're using feathers for the tundra, you know, white feathers and things. So that's kind of how it evolved for all these characters.
And Paul, what do you have anything you
Yeah, with the hair over David's prosthetics there, that was a bit of a major thing, wasn't it, to try and secure these horns to heads, because they had to do all sorts of stunt work. So without creating bulk and keeping the head shapes. So within the hair is also reflected the biomes of desert, tundra, what were the other? Jungle, all those things. So bits of foliage, feathers, that kind of thing. The girl in the middle at the bottom there, that wig was actually braided with different colours throughout, and you needed to see her scalp as you would with braiding. So she was entirely bald-capped, and the wig was an absolute work of art made by Ray Marston's team. That was the hardest one to achieve of all of them.
And then I see, of course, you can't do a film like this without Warwick Davis.
You've got to have Warwick. Yeah, he was terrific.
Poor Warwick.
Yeah.
I mean, he's great.
You know, originally, this was going to be a CG character. So I had to use elements of the CG character and kind of merge it into Warwick's live cast. You know, and there were certain elements of Warwick that we've seen before in different movies, and I was trying to get away from that. So Albert Einstein at a certain age was a guide track for how things were going with Warwick. He's in there, kind of. So, you know, that worked really well for the director, and everyone was happy.
Wonderful. So I'm going to ask each of you, what was your biggest challenge on the film? Starting with you, Dave.
Oh, I knew you. I mean, to be honest, it's when you say it's a pair of horns, but then they said to me, listen, you've got 35 of these guys. And the trouble is they're all individual life casts, so we literally had to head cast everybody. Each individual piece is determined by their hair, their real hair, because of how you lock it in. So that was a real challenge, just to get the cap to fit exactly as tight as it can be so Paul can do his magic. And then also, you know, we had issues with the cheeks and everything, you know, and then they got ears, so all these things were sculpted on their own life casts, and some of them were taken down onto a flat and then reproduced. So all sorts of technical issues along route.
Yeah, it was I think the sheer numbers of people who had to look so extreme, and there's always a time limit, isn't there, that you never have enough time. And I went to every wig maker, and they were all refusing me in the end. So we actually had to bring people into the studio and put them in a big tent and make stuff on site, because particularly with my Arvi, the white fae, because Angie actually changed how she wanted him to look before we actually got to shoot him. So we had a really short turnaround to get those things changed on him. So I would say the most challenging thing was, as I say, the numbers of people and the time that we had to do it. I mean, I remember every week the big producer would haul us all into a room and say, right, where are we now? How's that going to be achieved? We've got a countdown of so many days, and, you know, that's a real pressure. But we pulled it off in the end, didn't we? With the hundreds of other people that helped us do it, of course.
Wonderful. Arian?
It's just keeping the continuity, really. It's a very precise makeup, obviously, for obvious reasons, because it's in the middle of a face, all these pieces, and, you know, there's a time constraint. I think we applied it 60 days, you know, every day, 2.5 hours, and she also has shoulder prosthetics, actually, which I forgot to mention, just to kind of bring that shape out. But yeah, just keeping a good timeline and keeping her happy, really.
So you said you applied at 60 days?
Yes.
Wow. And were there days other than the weekend? Did the production accommodate for days off here and there? Just to give
no, she just had the weekends off. But I have to say, we took very good care of her skin, and
I know Tony's crazy.
Tony is amazing with that, and just because such an important woman, and next to that, you just don't want to do anything that. Of course. Yeah.
So, was there something that you absolutely didn't know before you began this film that you do know now?
How to apply horn. How
to apply the odd horn or two.
The interesting thing is, because we all tried them on, didn't we?
Oh, of course.
And when you wear them, you feel as if they should be there. It's a weight of them. As if we should all have had them, I think.
Yeah, we get used to wearing them. I know. Yeah, that is true. But I tell you, the one thing is the weight ratio with the horns. Because some of these guys, I made the horns really long and really, tall. So it's all very well doing that, but then it's so high that you can't have any wobble. So the material you make it out of, and if you go solid materials or semi-rigid, then it's heavier. Yeah. So you're kind of, you're battling the...
Yeah, they look easier than they actually...
Yeah, there's all sorts of technical,
trying to get anchorage sufficient...
And then sufficient anchorage to those...
On people's heads without actually making holes in their skull. That was hard, yeah.
We looked at so many vegetables too, didn't we?
Oh, we did. We did.
I want to know if you tried any tails on to go with the horns.
The what?
Did you try any tails on?
Tails?
Yeah.
Nobody had one.
Well, just because of, horns and tails.
Oh, I see. Got it.
Matching set. Well, I think we're going to the audience now. So, questions, please?
The lady right there.
There's a lady here. Oh, you got pipped to the post. Here's someone coming.
Hello. Hi. So I just have a question of how you merged horn to hair and then secure hair to head. Like, how did you do that?
Wow.
Shall I start?
That's a joint deal.
Yeah.
Because, again, it starts with the quantity of hair they have as an actor or an actress. And then from then, it's a question of figuring out, we used all sorts of little thin leather areas underneath the caps as well. And then we had gauze areas cut in within the pieces, within the hats, the skull caps themselves, which would also help anchor the hair down. We had a lot of different techniques because everybody's natural hairstyles were so different.
Yeah, and with each different person, sometimes we would use some of their own. Other time it was a full wig. It just depended what the look was. Also people's sort of endurance for how much metal they can cope with. For some of them it was like when you put a wig on, you wrap the hair, you put those little flat toupee clips. I'm sure all the hairdressers in the room know about those. And then you stick that pin underneath it. But some actors, you can't even walk in the room, can you, with one of those, and they start screaming at you. But as I say, it was different for each person.
Excellent.
My question is about the palette you used for Angelina Jolie. It's exquisite, and I love her eye color, her lips. How did that develop?
That kind of developed on the first film, actually, about 6 years ago. Angie was very specific about the red. She wanted red, and I think Tony tried about 40 different types of red, and eventually Mac had to custom make a red because no reds were good enough, and so it just goes on and on. But I have to give credit to Tony and Angie coming up with some brilliant ideas. Obviously, Christina Patterson did some beautiful lenses, and they did a lot of research in that. But and then the foundations, they varied from because they often have like silicone and Vaseline in them. So because of the pieces, it's just a combination of different products, really. But
any other questions?
Yep, right there. Peter does. Right here.
Keep your hand up so they can spot you.
Hello, thank you. I'm so honored to be able to ask you a question. A beautiful finishing touch in the film is the hands and the nails of some of the characters. How is that, is that your guys' creativity, or does that come from the team? And do they wear those throughout the filming, or is it something that gets done every day?
Yeah, all the ladies or the females have nails from their different biomes. They all have nails, and they're all hand painted and finished, and they're applied every day. For the guys, we had kind of silicone caps made. And they had to come on and off, but so that it wasn't like a stuck prosthetic, but it extends them around, ½ inch, 1/4 to ½ inch on some of them. And some of those were universal, but we ended up molding everybody's fingers and reducing the cores on everyone so that they were a tight fit, and then they'd roll them on. There's a few out in the foyer. You can see how they work. And the color as well, because everybody's hands, individual colors for each character. And we had a spare set for everybody, and I had these little kind of goodie bags made so they could keep the spare set.
Everybody here gets a bag of fingers, but
Really?
Yes.
And there were feet too, weren't there?
Yeah.
There were nails on the feet too, for certain shots.
I think
So there was
Peter had a question.
Yes, thank you. First of all, congratulations. Wonderful work. I love the way the blend between the hair, the makeup, and even the overlook. I was wondering, where did the CGI come in with the wings, and was that through orchestration of your artistry from the beginning?
Yeah, for Angelina, they were obviously visual effects. I think you did build some wings in the first film.
We built some wings for Angelina for reference on the first wings, which we used, and we had those wings again, which we used for our other characters to stand, in front of as a guide track, because it is kind of odd when you haven't got those wings. It really helps to know how it carries on, as it were, because the jungle characters, their wings are extremely colourful. Exotic colors, and that's going to be reflected in their body painting and in their makeups, So it was really important. I went to the art department and I got these kind of blown up versions of these wings, and had the characters stand in front of them so we could use them for guide tracks. Yeah.
Well, that's fascinating, actually. Thank you very, very much.
Well.
And
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Wonderful work. Wonderful work.
Our next film is 1917, Makeup and Prosthetics for the entire film. Please show the clip.
Get out of the way then, mate. Who the fuck do you think you are, pushing wounded soldiers around? Let go of me! I shall knock down our sergeant! The man's fucking wounded! All right, I'm sorry, all right? I'm sorry! We're on commission. Send me through. Orders from the general. Send me through. Get out of the way.
For God's sake, careful there. You're stepping on the dead. And that's our sergeant. We'd better washing him out of this dugout with a bloody hose.
Do you know where the Yorks are?
Next bend, you'll be standing on top of half of them. Shot to hell 2 nights ago.
Yorks?
Yes, Corp.
Where's Major Stevenson?
I was killed a couple of nights ago, Corporal. Lieutenant Lesier's command.
Go! Wake up! Wake up! Go! Go! Stand up! Stand up! Come on! Stand up! Come So much dust in my eyes. Here. Have some of mine. Ich muss es jetzt sein. Wasser! Mit Wasser! We should put him out of his misery. No. Get him some water. He needs water. No, no, no! Oh, God, no. Oh, God, no. Jeez. Jesus, no. Oh, we have to stop the bleeding. Stop! Stop it! Stop it! It's all right. It's going to be all right. Ow! Am I dying? Yes. Yes, I think you are. Jesus. What happened to him?
Friends, your wife will stop with embarrassment to the entire expedition with us.
No. You're both bloody awful.
You don't know. You barely even speak the bloody language.
He's got a better grasp of it than you, Cook.
Well, go on then, John. I'll give it a go.
I'm traveling through this world of woe, yet there's no sickness, toil, nor danger in that bright land to which I go. I'm going there to see my father. I'm going there no more to roam.
Major?
Yes, sir. If you can walk, move to the triage area. Let me come out. Lieutenant Blake! Surgery! I need some help here, quickly! Come on, Mr. Hunt!
It was very quick. I'm sorry.
Please welcome Naomi Dunn, Tristan Versoulis, and Rebecca Cole. Unfortunately, Rebecca can't be with us.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Terrific.
Thank you
Terrific
very much.
work. Really was. So we're going to start with, please, can you share with us your process of doing makeup changes through the film, since it's being told in real time and gives the impression of being one shot?
Yeah, that was the initial big problem or challenge that we had to have. The makeup changes had to be mapped out. The shots, it wasn't one shot, obviously, but it was 30-something shots. So because we'd rehearsed so much, we knew the camera angle all the way through for every single shot. So for instance, when Blake gets stabbed, we knew that we were starting on George at the water pump and that the camera would pan round and we'd see Blake in the distance quite far away. So we could put a pale makeup on him, and by the time the camera pushed in, he'd already lost a lot of blood. So it seemed authentic that he'd be that pale at that time. So we could map things all the way through. And, you know, there are problems because you can't cut, go in, put blood, place the blood. And so Tristan had to build a rig that was remote controlled so that, and he had to time it exactly so that the blood started squirting out from his stomach at exactly the right moment. That was a little bit of a problem.
No pressure, right?
No.
No.
What did you do in your spare time?
So, would you share the makeup design and application on Benedict Cumberbatch, on his character look?
Yes, well, you can do that, Tristan.
Yeah, I remember Benedict saying when we had the sort of meeting with him that he wanted a little bit of history to his character. So we talked about a scar in his eye, but I think Sam didn't want anything too dramatic to take away from it. So yeah, we discussed this kind of little eye scar, which we made a little Bondo that applied nice and quickly on the day and kind of lined it up to a really beautiful contact lens that was made.
By Christina. And yeah, we wanted the wound to go exactly right through. So the wound in his eye was matched up to the wound on his face.
How many, I know that there was limited shots or lens or what have you. How many days did he play? Just that one day?
Yeah, all those supporting actors like Benedict and Colin Firth, Andrew Scott, and they all were on for one day, pretty much. Mark Strong was the only one he did two. So they came in cold, had to pick up where we all were in that movie and just come up with it. Really? They were very nervous.
And they weren't involved with any of those big rehearsals or anything like that?
They were involved in the rehearsals quite early on, and then we didn't see them for months, then suddenly there they were. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard when you've got Richard Madden, for instance, who's doing the last scene in the movie, and it's a very emotional scene, and they were really worried, those guys. They were so committed to the film, they so wanted to be in it, and they pulled it off. They were right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So while we're talking about that, what was the biggest prosthetic challenge in the film?
Well, I'll pass over to you, but I'd just like to say that the end scene where they're in the medical tent, which Tristan then built tons of prosthetics for, Sam initially didn't want a lot of prosthetics. He didn't want it to be too ghoulish, right? But he didn't feel, when we rehearsed it the day before, he felt something wasn't quite right. So he got up really early and had a think in the field. He went into the field and had a think and thought, I think this needs to be more gory. And he phones up and goes, Nay, I've changed my mind. I want it really bloody and gory. And then I rang Tristan and went, oh, shit. You know.
I freaked out.
And then he pulled it out. I mean, we had prepped it. Right. We prepped it, but we didn't think we'd ever need it. So over to you for the rest of it.
Well, I mean, yeah, that scene, I mean, it was a huge challenge to get all those extras ready and the different levels of wounds, the quantity overnight changed. So I woke up in the morning, kind of had to prep my crew and kind of like, okay, guys, you know, so remember yesterday? It's kind of like 3 times that. But it was a challenge. I mean, it was the levels of the blood, the dirt, the debris. You know, we had a whole variety of different wounds, from small scratches through to heavy wounds and amputees and everything like that.
We had a lot of amputees who Tris had built, you know, little like sleeved things that went over the remains of their limbs. All motorbike accidents, by the way.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead. No.
So that was all done at the last, that was all prepped, but we then decided to use them all.
So, but you had to get your crew like, okay, like you had just said, like, okay, go have a couple pints. And then you're like, okay, hold on, wait a minute, we're going to go.
Exactly.
We're going to jump in this now, right?
But they were great. I mean, they hit the challenge, and they just had a few more people in their chair that morning.
Very cool. Will you, let's talk about what was the biggest challenge with continuity on the character Schofield as he goes through so much? Like it's one thing after another after another.
Rebecca Cole, who should have been here, she's pregnant, so she couldn't make the flight. She's very, very anal, really. Completely the opposite of me. And that's why I put her in charge of George, because I just knew that she would not let anything slip. But the biggest challenge was what you're looking at now, the sequence where he gets buried in the rubble. We shot, it's the only scene we shot out of sequence. And of course, it has the biggest effect on his appearance. We had to, first of all, we had to find a dust that we could pour all over his face and into his mouth and eyes that was non-toxic, that wouldn't hurt him, that was safe to breathe in. And David Stoneman at Makeup came up with an idea of using it's a sugar sort of substitute that he ground. We had so many different grinds. We've got some outside there as well. And we had to match the colour to the set. And in the end, it actually worked really well because it dissolved slightly in his mouth. So when he coughs, all that muck comes up, which I wanted. I wanted to see that because first you think he's dead and then it all comes out. And the scene afterwards that we showed where he's washing it off, it's heartbreaking. That really got to me, actually. And then we had the continuity that Rebecca had to deal with was that we shot all of that stuff before we actually shot that scene. So we rehearsed that scene a lot. In reality, we buried him, and then we filmed it, and then we referred to that all the time. And it sort of worked in the end. That was a really big challenge.
And I mean, he's a pretty special actor to be covered like that. I mean, when I just watched that clip, I'm like, he's like covered, like
he was buried.
I'm sure Sam was like, let's cover him up, and then you got to put those rocks, and I mean, he's pretty mummified.
And then you're timing
it
it because he can't breathe.
Right,
so
right.
You're timing it. It seemed like ages, and I'm going, get him out.
Yeah, let's go.
Because I've known him since he was a baby, so I had even more attachment.
Oh, heavens.
Yeah. I know.
Wow.
Fabulous actor, George.
How lovely. So can you talk about research and where that began?
Well, I started researching the minute Sam sent me that script, and which was June before we started, almost a year before we started shooting. And obviously, there's a huge amount available online. I went to the Imperial Museum. We looked at tons of documentaries. I bought tons of documentaries. And then it was the Peter Jackson documentary that really gets to you because it's colorized. It feels somehow more real, even more real. But
did you see it in 3D? There was a 3D version. It was absolutely fascinating.
I didn't. I just saw a normal.
Yeah, if you get a chance to see it.
Yeah, a bit late now.
Well,
Thank you very much. What the things you take though from documentary footage, where it looks so period because of the way the film's shot, and that Sam was very keen. So was I, to have that really pale, almost sort of bluey whitish hue that the soldiers seem to have in the documentary footage. So we actually did that with all those extras. We mixed a blue into a little foundation to knock off any red that they had and just make them look. I don't know why it gave a slightly period feel to make them to knock off all of that. But so there's so much available research-wise, and you can sit in your chair in the armchair. You don't need to cycle to the library. But there are certain pictures that really struck me. There's a picture of a man in a trench who was just covered in mud with his head in his hands in such despair. And that was the picture I had up on my makeup place too, because I felt that we had to honor all of these soldiers, and that was the way I did it, I think. But also, in the room with the extras, we played documentaries all the time, as well as all the photos that you always have up for reference. But we had the documentaries running on a reel so that all the soldiers who were waiting to go into hair and makeup would sit there and look at it and absorb it. And I think realize then how important it was that they portrayed all of these soldiers with real honesty and authenticity, just to respect them all.
Absolutely. Well done, Naomi. Well done. Oh, that's made me go quite teary, actually.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I still get teary.
It does. It's important that we do that in our work. Questions from our lovely audience, please. Pop your hand up.
Hi. So there have been so many television shows and movies that are about these horrible wars. When you got the call in the script from Sam, what did you think you needed to do differently? Because it's a revelation, just watching him interacting with the bodies and the horses. So what did you do specifically to make it different?
Well, I just wanted to be very authentic. So things like you're looking at now, we had a lot of rotten teeth. I suppose that's what that photo was about at the time. What I wanted to do is portray the lives of the soldiers in their faces and in their hair. So, and that was more research. That was talking to historians, for instance, about a day in the life of a soldier or what they had to go through. Things like their haircuts were very specifically strange in World War I. They were very different to World War II, which was longer on top. But World War I, first of all, they clipped their hair, and then to take away any individuality. And then the guys put their helmets on, and you weren't allowed to have any hair showing out underneath their helmets. But they'd keep growing it, sort of out of defiance, and then they cut these fringes across so that it wouldn't show under their helmets, and you ended up with these really weird haircuts. And I just wanted to get those weird haircuts, and we had really funny ones. And you saw a lot of them in that scene where the soldier's singing, and the camera pans around all of those faces. And we got there, and Sam goes, I want all their helmets off. And I went, oh my God, when were they checked last? So we literally went around with clippers, and actually I got nail scissors at one point. There's a guy with a fringe, I'm just hacking it off because I hadn't checked them for a week, and they grow out so fast. But anyway, what I wanted to be different was the fact I didn't want any vanity. I wanted rotten teeth. I wanted boils on their neck. I wanted bad tattoos and all of that stuff. I just wanted them to look exactly as they would because they'd been through hell and back, and that's how I wanted to portray it.
Wonderful. Another question?
Can you talk about the dead bodies? If you have anything to do with the dead bodies and also the process of dying, because we've seen in a short period of time, like in seconds, turning blue and changing the color about dying at that moment because of the continuity take.
Yeah, I mean, we made a lot of dead bodies for the sequence, the No Man's Land and the river sequence. It was that we had various levels of sort of decay in them, and they were all fully articulated, fully hair punched and everything, because they had to sort of be buried in the mud and set into the landscape and sort of feel like they'd been there for a long time or a short time, depending on the deeper you got into No Man's Land, for example. And then the body sequence, again, we had a lot of bodies that had been washed up against a tree. So likewise, they sort of had bloated ones and different kind of, we had villagers and soldiers. But they had to sort of all be anchored down and be fully interactable because George had to sort of climb over them, which when I was sort of building them was terrifying because I'm like, they're going to fall apart and it's not going to work. But yeah, we made quite a few just to sort of give that sense of loss in the landscape of the war zone sort of thing. So,
and the Blake's death, where he does go blue, that was a sort of lucky break because there was a blending point, which is what we called the places where we cut and then moved on, and that had to be blended so it all looked like one shot. We had a blending point before Dean is dragged off by those soldiers looking seriously dead, so we were able to punch up his makeup beforehand so we could get that blue change.
Another question? Is there? No. Someone there?
When the one guy is in the explosion in the underground, he comes out and he's got all the dust on his face. I just wondering what you guys used for that. That was like safe for him to have in his eyes and his mouth and stuff.
Well, that was a sugar, a sort of something derived from a sugar substance that's out there in the front. You can have a look at it, and it's not sugar, but it's something sugary that. We have this man, David Stoneman, who makes all our special effects makeup. He made all the dirt. We matched all the dirt to the ground where we were shooting We were shooting in 3 different locations, and we matched it all to that. And he made that white substance that was completely safe to breathe in or to have in your mouth or in your eyes.
Great.
Any other questions?
Yes, I need to know how much human anatomy and physiology that you guys research, and like again the timing of how blue the person as they're dying. I'm a physician, so I'm amazed that you matched it so well. And I just wondering, is it just your artistic approach to it, or is it actually human anatomy and physiology research? And the second question is, sorry, I'm sneaking in a second one. Director Sam Mendes has a little Caribbean in him, and in a year of Oscar So White, I'm glad that in 1917 now you have an East Indian character, and I saw a black character. What approaches do you have for when you're doing makeup and whatnot for people of more diverse skin and color? Thank you.
Well, hang on, what was the first bit? I forgot.
Yeah, I think the first bit was as far as like anatomy and
Yes,
and, you know.
we do actually have to study. Well, it's not that you study it, but you research it. So when you have bodies that are ripped open, Tristan will know you've studied
a lot of
muscle.
horrible images. But yeah, you kind of get a lot of online research, a lot of medical books, and that kind of stuff. I mean, it's hard to look at, but you kind of have to base it on reality. So yeah.
And as far as Sam goes, he is a mixture of many diverse bits and pieces, I think. And when you're doing diverse, with different coloured skin or different ethnicities, it's the same. You know, it's the same as any makeup. You take a skin tone and you create your makeups that work with the skin tone.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you, and well done. Excellent
very
work.
well done.
Excellent. Thank you.
Gotta get my next one. So at this time, I'm going to ask all of our nominees to go to your tables, please. And I would also like the audience to please give the artists a few minutes to get down to their displays. And then you are welcome to go downstairs and see some of their beautiful work and talk to them. I want to thank all of you for attending today. And I also want to say, please watch the Oscars tomorrow night. Thank you.